Hi everybody, I'm Susan Mulvihill. Welcome back to my garden. Yes, we've still got snow on the ground. It's still very cold here, and the leaves are still on the trees and shrubs. This is crazy, but that's not the topic for today. Bill and I are avid bird watchers, and we love doing whatever we can to help them get through our very cold, long winters. And part of that has to do with what we've planted in our landscape. So today I want to give you some ideas of what we have in our yard to help them out. And just to illustrate how cold it is here, this is water that was frozen inside our wheelbarrow a week ago, and it has not melted at all. It's mostly been in the low teens at night, and generally speaking, we make it up to about maybe 27 degrees during the day. So this feels too soon, but we're just dealing with it. In our backyard, we have a feeding station that revolves around this crabapple tree. As you can see right now, there is a northern red-shafted flicker that is enjoying some of the suet in one of our two suet feeders. Woodpeckers love suet, but there are a lot of other kinds of birds that enjoy the suet as well, and they really benefit from the protein in it. We also have a couple of tube feeders that hold black oil sunflower seeds. Those feed a lot of different kinds of birds, primarily songbirds, and it's just great fun watching them come in. So those are what we buy, but now let's look at what's growing in our landscape that is providing food for our bird friends. Let's take a look first at the different types of trees and shrubs that we are growing that produce berries. What you're looking at here is a snowberry bush. This is a native shrub, and boy, do they produce a lot of these white berries, and the birds just devour them over the colder months. This is a great addition to our landscape. In the spring it has tiny little pink flowers, and then of course they turn into these lovely berries, and it takes good care of our friends. So here's another berry producer, although the berries have already been eaten by the birds. This is a golden currant, which is a native shrub, and it makes a wonderful addition to any landscape. You've seen this wonderful shrub before at different points in the growing season. This is a native shrub called American cranberry bush, and look at those gorgeous red berries. So in the spring, they have beautiful white lace cap flowers. Then they start developing sort of a yellow-green berry, which are really pretty. And then they turn red in the summer. And this time of year they're starting to soften, and I think that's really when the birds find the berries the most palatable. I've often seen Bohemian waxwings and cedar waxwings just going nuts over these. Robins like them too, as do some other types of birds. But this has been a fabulous addition to our landscape. It can grow 10 to 12 feet high. I know sometimes that's a bit of a showstopper for folks, but we just love it, and we're so glad that the birds enjoy it too. These pretty berries belong to our Paul's Scarlet Hawthorn tree, and you actually saw this tree in the last video when I showed you the huge branch that got broken off in the windstorm about a week and a half ago. This is a wonderful tree. It can be a little bit challenging to prune because it needs quite a lot of monitoring, but this is something that birds love to eat, and I'm so glad that there's a huge crop of berries on it this year because that will feed a lot of birds. This is a red twig dogwood, which is another native shrub, and it produces lovely berries and of course this beautiful red bark. Well, the berries are very popular with the birds, and one of the things we especially noticed this year in late summer, early fall, is that bluebirds, kingbirds, and robins were just loving them. So we get a pretty shrub for the landscape and food for the birds. Out in our front yard, we've had this flower bed for years, and I plant it with all kinds of things that the birds will love, but of course flowers that are pretty for me to enjoy too. And then this other bed back here is our pollinator garden, and that one is meant for attracting all kinds of pollinators and beneficial insects, and it also is filled with flowers that I enjoy as well. Bee balms are one of the perennials that I grow out here. I think they are so gorgeous. Got quite a lot of them, and I never cut the flower heads off in the summer or in the fall when I'm tidying things up just a little bit. And that's because there are plenty of seeds in there for the birds to eat during the winter months. And it is so much fun seeing birds jumping up onto the flower heads and seeing them pulling them down and just trying to sort of ride the flower heads so they can get the seeds out. It's really cool. Gloriosa daisies are another favorite of birds. So I leave those seed heads in place during the fall and winter months so that they can feast on them and get the protein they need to make it through the winter. Russian sage, which is a little hard to see here, is another great perennial that provides seeds for the birds. And it's so much fun to see birds standing on the ground and jumping up and weighing it down and finding seeds. I can see seeds down on the ground here, and I've been watching lots of birds eating the seeds, and they seem to really enjoy them. And this is a really tough plant too, I should add. How about some black-eyed Susans? These are just packed with seeds, just waiting for the birds to eat them. And of course, the flowers are beautiful. These are a really tough perennial. They'll come back year after year after year, and it's definitely a great addition to the landscape. Now, I would be remiss if I did not mention lavender plants. We've got quite a lot of them, as you can see, and that's because they're drought tolerant, deer resistant, and low maintenance. But these flowers, which are gorgeous during the summer, are now seed heads. And the birds go nuts over these, especially goldfinches. There is nothing cooler than coming out in the dead of winter and smelling the scent of lavender in the air, because the birds basically release that scent into the air. It is so cool. But this is a wonderful plant. We primarily grow Munstead lavender, mainly because it's super hardy. We live in a zone 5B climate, so we need to go with the hardiest types of lavenders. But do consider adding lavender to your landscape, because in addition to their beauty and to the fact that birds love them, they are great plants for pollinators. Thanks so much for watching today, everybody. I hope that you got some ideas of things that you can add to your landscape to help out the birds and to add a lot of interest to your garden. I'll see you next time. Take care.